Let's go back to that little place where we used to go in the summer days. We dip our feet at the water's edge, and everyone would come along to meet us there. We'll have a competition to see who can trap for longer, 'cause every year my body's getting stronger. We can swim all day and dance into the night, but we're not coming home till the moonlight shines, till the moonlight shines. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Hi friends, welcome to A Lovely Yarn. My name is Amber and I live with my family in Western Pennsylvania. Today is October 2nd. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I am pretty excited about today's episode because I have some lovely things to share with you. Not just stuff I've made. I'm actually thinking more about some other things I have from some very talented makers that I want to share with you. I have a couple giveaways, and then I also want to tell you about a shop that I recently discovered, and I have some really exciting news about that as well. So thank you again for joining me. Our family went to Maine on our annual Maine vacation the first week of September, and we had a good time. Then we came back and we got started in our school stuff really right away, you know. So I haven't had a whole lot of extra time, even mentally. I haven't had space to podcast. But plus I've been working on bigger projects, so I feel like they've been slower going, especially since I am homeschooling again now. Our summer break is over, so I have a lot of mental energy focused on our homeschooling. But we had a good time in Maine, and I'll probably put some of the video footage from that trip into the opening video, or maybe I'll do something at the end. On our way up, we stopped overnight at, oh boy, I forget what the town is called. It starts with a B. I can't remember. I will remember. It's just escaped my mind. But there's a yarn shop there called Heavenly Yarns, and I'm pretty sure I posted about that on Instagram. But I went there because, of course, as knitters do, we visit yarn stores when we're on vacation. And I bought, actually it worked out really well because I needed a couple different needles that I didn't have that I needed for projects I'm going to be starting soon. But I was planning on starting the projects while I was in Maine, but that didn't happen. But I still needed the needles, and she had them there. She had a wide variety of knitting needles, so that was good. I was able to get those. And I bought 2 skeins of yarn, which I am not even going to show because I'll show them when I start that project. But it's for a cowl that I'm making out of the Coffee House Knits book that I talked about. I think I showed you guys last time. So I was able to get that as well. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and start with my first finished object. Well, actually the only one I have to show you this time. And this is my Dreyma sweater. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen pictures of this because I finished this on the way up to Maine. See, the whole thing about this sweater, it was originally intended to be for me. And it would fit me, but it would fit me in a very fitted way. And I really like my sweaters to have a little bit more ease in them. So I decided, I don't know, when I was pretty far into the body that I was going to give this to my daughter if it wasn't too scratchy of the yarn. It's actually a very soft yarn. It drops air, but my daughter's very sensitive to natural fibers. So she tried it on though, because it was to the point where it was big enough that she could try it on, and it did not itch her at all, which was great. So on the way up to Maine, I had just a little bit to do, I think just on one sleeve, and that is a long drive, so I had plenty of time to finish it. So I finished it on the way up, and she was able to wear it there, which actually worked out really well because the weather was quite chilly when we were there, so she wore it almost every day, at least in the evening or the morning time. So that's just a whole view of it. You know, I think I will, in case you don't follow me on Instagram, I will post, I'll put some pictures in right here of her modeling it. And it was the best place to model it because we were on the rocky shoreline in Bar Harbor, Maine. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in here for you guys to see. Okay, so yes, this is such a lovely sweater, and the yarn is very soft. It was nice to work with. I actually have 2 balls of the charcoal color left and almost a full ball of the light gray. Not enough to make a whole sweater, of course, but I'm not buying yarn right now. But when I do buy yarn again, I think I'm going to do this sweater, but I'm going to do it in this light gray for the main color, like the body color, and see if they have this yarn in a navy or a darker blue for the color work. I don't have any sweaters like that, so I thought, oh, I like that, and I really like blue, and that's what I'll maybe do. Who knows? But I like how it has the color work on the bottoms of the body and the sleeves before you start the hem. I think I followed this per pattern, except I made the sleeves much longer than what the pattern called for. I just like to do that with most of the sweaters I knit because I like to be able to fold them up, and this is how my daughter wears them. So I was able just to, you know, measure her arms and figure out how long I needed to make that work so she could fold her sleeves up. So, Dreyma Sweater by Jennifer Steingast, Knit Love Wool on Instagram. As with everything, all that info will be posted down in the description area below this video. As well as, I guess I always forget to say, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I will post that information there. And also Ravelry, I try to keep that updated with my projects. Don't always do the best job. I've definitely knitted way more than what's on there, but, you know, I do what I can with that. Okay, so my next project, I don't think I was working on either of these last time I podcasted, and they're both big because one's a sweater and one is a shawl. And I'll show you the sweater first. This fuzzy sweater I'm making. This is the No Frills Pullover by Petite Knits. And I have the one sleeve. I just need to switch to smaller needles and do the ribbing, and then I'll pick up for the other sleeve. And I'll knit this sleeve, of course, and finish that. So everything else is done. Let me try to zoom, because it's not getting an accurate picture of how pretty this yarn is. Okay. So this is knit. This sweater is being knit by so many people, so I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. I'm using Cosy Posy Yarn Co. in her Birch colorway, which I think I talked about last time. Did I talk about that? It was a colorway that when we were in Maine, I think our first or second year, I took a picture of a birch tree and I sent it to Antonella and I said, could you custom dye me a yarn that use this birch tree as your inspiration? And this particular birch had beautiful silvery gray, brown, of course the white, and pink and red, some red in it as well. So she used that picture as the inspiration for this. And then I held it double with, I forget what the name of this yarn is. Okay, it's Drops Kidsilk. I have to say, I know Drops has gotten a bad name. But mohair is really expensive. And for me to have bought indie dyed yarn, the fingering weight yarn, plus indie dyed mohair, that would have made this, I would not have been able to knit this sweater. This was super cheap. I think it was maybe 3 something euros. So it was affordable, and it made it doable to be able to use mohair in this knit. And that's the same thing with the Dreyma sweater. That was a very affordable sweater to knit because the Drops Air yarn was affordable. This is just creating such a nice, cozy, just such a nice, cozy sweater. I am slightly concerned that it's going to be too big on me. It seems awfully big. I know it's supposed to be an oversized sweater, but I'm just afraid it's going to be a little bit too big. The funny thing is I did not, it calls for a size 6 needle for your main stockinette part of the knit, but I did not get gauge with 6. I got gauge with 7. So I had to size up a needle, and then I sized down 2 sizes on the ribbing because I had read on the ProjectPage, a lot of people had said about the collar stretching out or being too big to begin with, and I wanted to make sure it was a tighter collar. Not tight, but like that it laid nice and wasn't stretching out across my shoulders. So I went down on the ribbing, and I'm going to do the same for the ribbing for the sleeves. And I did the same for the body. I tried it on, and right now it's really cozy and it's really comfy. It is probably maybe a little bit baggier than what I'm used to. I don't like a real fitted sweater, but I'm also not used to wearing a real baggy sweater. I'm kind of like maybe in between. Maybe like 4 inches of positive ease maybe is what I would prefer. This is more than that, but it's okay. My only concern is that it's superwash yarn. The Cosy Posy yarn is superwash. I don't know what the Kidsilk is. That's a good question. I'm assuming it's not. It's going to be hand wash. Yeah, actually, it looks like you can wash this. You can also wash the mohair in the washer on low agitation. Okay, so I'm knitting a superwash sweater basically, and we know superwash has a tendency to stretch out. So I think that's why I was doing so good, moving along so quickly on this sweater, really enjoying it, and then I started to realize that, oh, I hope it's not going to be too baggy or too big on me. And then are you guys like this when you recognize a potential problem in your knitting? It makes it a little less exciting. It's almost like I have 2 sides. One side of me wants to power through it so I can get it done and I can block it and I can see if it's going to have grown too much. The other part of me starts to hesitate, and I slow down because I don't want to know if it's not going to fit right or if I'm not going to like how it is, because that means I just basically, in my mind, I feel like I've wasted a lot of time knitting something that's not going to fit me well. But that's just silly. You know, that's silly. I need to just, I'm going to finish this soon. I actually wanted to have this finished before I podcasted, but I thought that's silly. So we will see. We will see what happens with this. I really hope it doesn't stretch too much because it's really beautiful. It's just such a pretty color. It's very pink because the mohair is a pink mohair, and I have a few pink tops. They're more like the subdued ballerina pink. This is definitely not bright, so I feel okay wearing this. I'm not, if you've been a viewer of me for any time, you probably know that I'm not a huge fan of bright knits. I think they look nice on other people, but they don't fit my personality, and I just don't feel like, I don't feel myself when I wear them. Unless they're socks. Socks are different, because that's fun. That's like, you know, when you knit socks, they're on your feet. They're not like across your chest where you're, you know, I don't know. I feel like probably other people understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so that is my whip number 1. Whip number 2. Oh, it's another Cosy Posy Yarn project. I bought all this yarn from Antonella at least probably 2 years ago. And it sat on my shelf because I was like, oh, I got to figure out the perfect project for that. So I had the sweaters quantity of the Birch colorway, and then I bought these next 2 colors. And I think I planned on knitting a shawl, but I don't remember for sure because it's been at least 2 years since I've purchased this. So I am using Cosy Posy Yarn Co. I am making the Drifter Shawl by Tammy Gore. I just finished my color craze. I podcasted about that in my last podcast, and I love that shawl. I actually wore that shawl to one of my kids', I think it was a dentist appointment, and I got so many compliments on it. I love that color craze shawl. It's just such a fun pattern to knit. And so this is another one. I actually purchased this one before the color craze, I'm pretty sure. The color craze was a gift. I don't think I mentioned that. One of my viewers gifted it to me. So that was so sweet. So yes, this is the Drifter. Let me see if I can get this to where I can show you. It's all rumpled and crumpled right now because I have it smushed into my project bag. So let's see here. I don't have a whole lot more. I think I have one more page of directions to work on. But it's a very fall colored project. And let me show you. This is Barn Wood and this is Honeycomb. And I pulled these out and I caked them up in the summer, and I was going to start this shawl, and then I thought, nope, I'm going to save this for the fall because these are very fall-like colors. So that is what I did. And I love this. I don't know if you can see this. Look at that. I just love that. That's with slip stitches. And then you have it down here. So yeah, this has been a very easy pattern. You really don't have to pay attention too much. So I've been able to work on this. Like this is the no frills. Oh, wait, let me finish talking about this first and then I'll go back to the no frills. This is an easy pattern to knit. And it's an interesting pattern. And I'm really excited to see how it's going to look when it's all done. I think I might gift this shawl. I haven't decided yet, but I'm thinking about it. So yes, another one of Tammy Gore's patterns. I have so many of her patterns in my favorites that are just gorgeous. And I've come to the realization I am more ambitious than I have time to be. You guys know what I'm talking about, don't you? So many talented designers and yarn dyers out there, and I just want to use, and even just, you know, commercial yarns that I think are really pretty and I'd love to use. And it's just like, oh my goodness, I just don't have the time to do it all. Nobody does. But I'm happy to have the time I have to, you know, work on my knitting and my spinning and stuff. So, it makes me happy. So yes, the Drifter Shawl by Tammy Gore. Now back to the No Frills Pullover. I wanted to talk about that because I would say I'm an experienced knitter. I'm not like a super advanced knitter, but I feel like I'm pretty experienced. And I've done enough different techniques to feel pretty confident in my knitting ability But I have to say that doing the yoke, it's a raglan, it's not a yoke. Doing the short rows, so you can see how the front is lower than the back, which is nice. I like that in sweaters. But there was something about the way the directions were written for the short rows, the German short rows, and the raglan that was not real clear. And I went into the pattern realizing that, because when I do knit a pattern, I typically do a little bit of research and read. I look up the projects on Ravelry, and I look at, what other people have done, and I kind of skim through to see if anybody had suggestions on any changes they would make or things they would do differently. And so I had read several places that that part of the pattern was a little bit unclear. But I also had read that the pattern had been updated so that it was more clear, but I still feel that there were some questions. If I had not been familiar with short rows and raglan increases and all that, I probably would have been really confused. In fact, I have an Instagram friend who has just recently started to knit, like within the last 6 months, and she asked, if this would be a good sweater for a beginner knitter, and I couldn't tell her yes, because yes, everything else is, but this part up here, it's just not, it's not clear. And I had to, I did this in the car. I think I started this on the car up to Maine. So I was able to really focus on it because I had nothing else to do. And I cannot remember what I did to keep track of the short rows and all that. I just remember it being like, wow, I would have been so confused if this was one of my first sweaters. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. For those of you that haven't knitted it, if you're thinking about it, just be aware of that. But once you get past that, it's just stockinette, so it's super simple. Okay, yes, those are my whips. That's what I got for you. I mean, I do have a couple other whips. I have my Weatherby cowl that I started last winter, that all I need to do is Kitchener stitch it. So you like knit the panel, and then you just Kitchener stitch it, and then you tack down, like you stitch down the little channel that you run your I-cord through. Well, I got to make the I-cord. I have finishing work I need to do on that I have not done yet, so I need to get to that because that's ridiculous. That's been probably 8 months. And then I have a pair of socks I'm making for Lily that I haven't gotten very far on because I've really been trying to focus on these two big projects. I'm really feeling the need for a small palette cleanser. What I really would like to do, well, I have lots of plans, but we already talked about that. I would like to just knit some, make a little fall garland. So some leaves, maybe a couple acorns. I've seen these on Instagram. Oh, Lori ×5, she always has such beautiful little garlands or little whimsical knitted pieces. And I saw that she just shared, again, a free pattern for a leaf, a knitted leaf. So I'd really like to do that and just make a little garland to hang over my kitchen sink window. I feel like by the time I get around to doing that, fall will be over. I really need to just do that kind of stuff in the spring. I keep telling not in the spring, in the summer, I keep telling myself, just finish these two projects, the shawl and the sweater, and then you can make that. But then I'm like, oh, fall will be over by the time I get around to that. It's okay, right? It's okay. It's all right. The purpose of us knitting is to make stuff, yes, but it's also the process of just enjoying it and feeling good about what you're making and feeling good about the fact that you can make things with your hands. That's what I need to focus on and not get... I get so set on finishing objects so I have them and I'm able to use them or wear them or give them away. And sometimes because of that, I lose focus of just relaxing and just enjoying the feel of the yarn in my hand and the fabric it's producing. And I have to often remind myself to just chill out and pay attention to the slowness of it and appreciate that. Because that is part of what makes it special, right? It's a slow, calm practice that we are privileged to be able to do. So, yes, that is all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to, now, I think I'm going to, I want to show you what I recently purchased. I'm not purchasing yarn anymore, but I did purchase a couple things. So I bought the stuff in Maine, and then, do you see this right here? This is Nutilden yarn from Honore. I'm sorry, Caroline. I have never been good at foreign languages or the accents that you need to have when you speak a foreign language. I feel like my son Ian is really good at that. Like, he's been learning Hebrew and now he's working on learning some Spanish, and he's really good at that. I am not. I think it's because I'm not an audible learner. So for me to listen to somebody and then repeat what they say, that's really hard for me. Okay. My camera shuts off after 20 minutes, and apparently I was talking 20 minutes and it shut off. So, as I was saying, this is the Nutilden yarn, which is a pre-yarn, which means that it is not really spun, although I would say it does have some spin to it. Let me find one that I can easily pull some off of. Okay, here we go. So it's, I think it's, I would call this very, very lightly spun. And that means that it's a very delicate yarn. So for instance, you have to see it'll pull apart, okay? And so you have to be careful when you're tensioning your yarn. You know, I haven't knitted with it yet, but from what I have heard from Caroline and other people that have used it, you really don't tension when you knit with this yarn. You kind of more hold it more than tension it. But if it does break, you know, you can, like Caroline says, she just overlaps it and knits it, and then the ends will felt themselves together, or it will felt itself into the rest of the fabric. And then there's other people that will put it together and just kind of roll it between their hands and see, good as new. So this is from the most recent collection I purchased from, I think, collection 1 or maybe collection 2. This is collection 3, I believe. Maybe 4. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly, but this is the copper and tin colorway, and it is not showing up on my camera, which is a huge bummer because it's so beautiful. Here, we're going to zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. I love the depth of her yarn and her fiber, both. It's so multi-dimensional when it comes to the different colors and layers that are in the yarn that she makes. So I ordered, I think, 400 grams of this. So I think that'll be enough to make either a sweater or a really big cozy shawl. And I'm anxious to cast on with it because it's this orangey red color, so it's a really nice fall color, and I think I would enjoy knitting this in the autumn. So that was my recent purchase, and I'm looking forward. I have a couple ideas in my head. I'm leaning more towards a shawl. I have had a couple viewers who have designed shawls and they've gifted them to me, so I would like to maybe knit one of those with this yarn, and I will let you guys know when I decide, because I'm not sure yet. I haven't given it enough thought to figure it out, and I want to make a little swatch with it just to see, because of the type of yarn it is. I want to make sure that whatever shawl I choose isn't one that I'm going to potentially be ripping back. Like, I don't want it to have any complicated things in it, because if I have to rip it back, this isn't going to rip back very easily, because it's, you know, it'll pull apart. So that's why I'm hesitating and trying to figure out what yarn or what pattern I want to use, but I have a couple in mind. Next, I want to show you some yarn that I ordered from River of a Knitter's Homestead. This was my first time ordering from her, and I was really excited. I was waiting for her to update, and then I think something happened that, you know, she's a mom, she has kids, or at least one kid. I can't remember how many kids she has. Something happened that she wasn't able to get it updated when it was supposed to, because I had been sitting there waiting and like refreshing and getting back onto the website and looking to see if her shop was updated, and it wasn't. So I think I finally contacted her, and then I think it updated the next day. So I just really wanted to try yarn from her. She was so sweet because not only did she send me what I ordered, plus a few extra goodies for me, she also sent me a second sock set to give away on my podcast. So I'm going to be giving one of these away. And the funny thing is, when I was trying to decide which set I wanted to order, it was between these two. I don't know how she knew that. Of course she didn't know that. But I could not decide between the two of these. And I'm going to give one of these away on my next episode, because I have something else that somebody else sent me as a giveaway for this episode. So I need to figure out which one of these I'm going to keep for myself and which one I'm going to give away. But they're so I haven't taken them out of the packages because I don't want to mess. They're taped down, and I don't want to mess up the packaging because I want to send it the way she had sent it to me. So, but they're the sock set, so they have the 100 gram and then the mini. Both of them have that. And then they have her pretty label with this one has a bee and this one has a moth. And I don't remember what they're dyed with. This one's called Tea Time. This bluish one. Let me see if I can see the name on this one. Oh, and this one's Flora. So, I'll be giving away one of these on my next episode. And she also sent me a really beautiful yellow mini and a couple of progress keepers, which were really pretty as well. So, thank you so much, River. You're so talented. I really appreciate your generosity in sending me those extras. That's so sweet. And I knew you guys would love to receive that as a giveaway, so we'll do that next time. But this week I want to share with you the Autumn Acorn, Judy from the Autumn Acorn. I'm sure that at least some of you know of Judy. She's on Instagram, but she also has a shop, and she dyes yarn. She naturally dyes yarn. Look at that beautiful orange color, corally orange. This is hand dyed in New Hampshire, where she lives, with madder root. It's 100% merino, and it's a worsted weight, so there's 218 yards in this skein. Is that not the perfect fall color? I feel like we're so fall themed. And the funny thing is it's been near 90 here in Pennsylvania, so it doesn't feel like fall. But this podcast, a lot of the stuff I'm working on is fall themed, or the stuff I've bought. And along with this skein of yarn, Judy sent this really cute Acorn progress keeper. You know, it would not be a Lovely Yarn podcast without problems with the focus. There we go. So yeah, that's the little progress keeper. And that's the skein of yarn. And this is what I'm giving away this week. This podcast. I would love to podcast weekly, but I just wouldn't have enough content. I don't knit fast enough. So please, this is what I want you to do. I do all of my giveaways right here. You just leave a comment below because it's easier. I don't have to worry about Ravelry because I don't really use it enough anyway, and it's easy. I think it's easier for you guys probably as well, not having to like click through to someplace else. Crazy hair. Okay, so all I want you to do, oh, look at her label. It's cute. It's a little leaf. What I would love for you to do is just to leave a comment telling me where you are located, so what part of the world are you in, because I realize some of you are not heading into fall. You're not in fall, you're in your spring if you're in the southern hemisphere. But if you could, even if you are heading into spring, if you could just think back to fall, and for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in the fall season, tell me what some of your favorite fall activities are, because truth be told, I struggle this time of year and it's not my favorite season. So I'm hoping to gain some inspiration from you guys in hearing what you enjoy about the fall, and just maybe a traditional activity that you and your family do in the fall, or you know, whatever. Just tell me what you like about the fall, and share that, and then I will randomly pull a name and I will announce this giveaway on the next podcast, which may be another month from now. That seems to be how long it takes for me to go podcast to podcast. Okay, and then no, this isn't the last thing I wanted to share about. I wanted to just show you some handspun, and then I have another little shop announcement. Not my shop, the other shop I was telling you about. So I wanted to show you what I completed recently. This was a spin that I completed, and it has not gotten its bath yet, which is why it's still pretty crinkly, like in through here, because I haven't done that last. So that when you finish applying your yarn, for those of you that don't spin, you soak it in like a warm water, or you know, like a steamy bath. You give it a steamy bath, and that just helps to relax any of this extra twist that's still in the fiber. I have not done that yet. I should do it today because it's supposed to be in the 80s and it'll dry quickly. I purchased this fiber at Maryland Sheep and Wool back in May. I lost the tag. I'm pretty sure it came with a tag, but I started spinning this back in May or maybe the beginning of June, and I do not know where I put the tag, so I cannot give you information as to who sold me this fiber. It is a wool blend, I know that, and it has, I think this is, what's that called? Starfire, Angelina, something like that. The metallic thread. It had some of that in it. Normally I'm not drawn to that kind of thing, but the color of this was so gorgeous that I could not pass it up. I think it looks a little more green on camera than what it really is. It's actually a very nice gold color with some green undertones, but I would say it's more gold than yellow-green. So I need to give this a bath, because this would make a nice hat, I think. I think this is going to become a hat. But anyway, that was fun to finish that up, because I had actually spun both bobbins, so all I needed to do was ply it. And then my drive band broke on my spinning wheel, and I just fixed it last week. And it was a super easy fix. I just bought some hemp cord and had to tie it on, but for some reason it didn't happen until last week. I went all summer without spinning. But I'm back because so I finished that, and then I mentioned Caroline, the same shop I bought the Untitled yarn off of. I bought fiber off of back last fall, maybe? Yeah, I think it was last fall. I bought fiber. It was before they were making their Untitled yarn. They were focusing on making fiber. Or she was selling fiber that she dyed. So I had ordered 500 grams of this. It's called Sashiko. And it was inspired by one of her friends. So it's basically this dark blue with also some just like a creamy white. And I love navy. I love blue. I already said it. Like, look, I have a navy dress on. A lot of my closet is navy. So I was really drawn to this, and I spun up. So I have 500 grams. So what I did is I just split it into 250. So I have a basket here. I have 250. Well, I had 250 grams of fiber in here, and then I have another basket with the other 250. So I'm going to just spin each basket, and then what I get is what I'm going to apply together. So I want to show you how this is spinning up. And you could probably tell why this is called Sashiko just by looking at how it's spinning. I really, really love that. This was the first full bobbin I got, and I have another bobbin on my wheel that is almost full. This is going to be, I have to say it again. I was like, I want to just spin this so I can make something with it. But that's a lot of fiber to spin. For those of you that spin, you know 500 grams is a lot of fiber to spin up. So I need to approach this with a more laid back attitude, because it's going to probably take me a little while to get through both baskets of it. And I want to enjoy it. I don't want to rush through it. But look, it matches my dress perfectly. So I'm happy to finally be working on this. And my first intention was to knit a sweater with this, but I think I want to knit a farmhouse shawl with it. I'll link that pattern below. I have made multiple farmhouse shawls. I think I've made 3. I've given 2 away, and I've kept 1 for myself. And so I think that this would be, in fact, let me pause and go grab my farmhouse shawl so I can show you, because I think this is going to be perfect. I feel like this is going to be perfect for that. So hold on one second. Okay, farmhouse shawl. In case you're not familiar with what it is, it's by Cabin 4. So I don't know if you can tell, because this was it was supposed to be a worsted weight yarn, but it was not. It was definitely more of a DK. But it has panels of stockinette, and then garter, and then it kind of, down here at the bottom, you have a big panel of garter, and then it has the fringe the whole way around. There we go, you can see it better. So you can see the different panels. And the reason why I think this would be perfect for the sashiko handspun is because I want the patterning of the yarn to shine through. So I don't really want to have a busy pattern with a lot of busy texture. I just want stockinette and garter are perfect. So you're going to get both, because yarn looks so different, especially yarn like this. I'm excited to see what it's going to look like as a garter stitch as well as stockinette. And then I think it would be really nice with fringe. I love fringe on a shawl. I hate tying fringe on, but I really love the look of it. It's just, I don't know, it's so vintagey looking. Reminds me of something my mom would have worn back in the 70s. The fringe. So that's what I think I'm going to do with this when I get it all spun up, and I will most certainly have enough. And I think I'll probably just keep going and make it a really huge shawl. I have this other shawl here that's on the back of my chair. This is also hand spun, that I spun with fiber from Honore. Caroline, if you're watching, you're probably laughing at me. This is the Brune shawl by Melody Hoffman, and I podcasted about this before. I test knitted it over the winter. But you can see, I think you can see, like, their fiber is unique because it's not like a polished, finished look when you spin it up. It's got the nubs and the little, it looks tweedy, and but I personally really love that. I have spun multiple different fibers from their shop, and I have loved all of them because I do love a more rustic spin. I like the little, I just like the texture it gives and how it looks hand spun and it looks special. So I don't know, you might not really be able to tell. This shawl is humongous. Look at this thing. I mean, it's huge. Look. This is a really fun pattern to knit. But here, let me show you what I mean. So see, like, you can see these little, like, slubby things. I think that's what they're called. Some spinners don't like that. Here, there's a good one right there. Some spinners, like, they pull all those things out when it's pretty much impossible to never get some of that extra, it's kind of where I feel like the fiber maybe felt a little bit together during the process of making the fiber. And some people pick all those out, and I guess for certain project spins I would pick them out, but anytime I've spun with Caroline's fiber, I leave them in there because it is just part of the uniqueness of their fiber, and I really appreciate that rusticness. I love the look that it gives. It's definitely right up my alley of what I prefer. So that's why I think I would like to do the Farmhouse Shawl with the sashiko. That's my plan. All right. I had a viewer I wanted to show you guys. I had asked about anyone that had any recommendations for a natural dye book, because I have been saving and drying some material to dye some yarn that I don't currently have. But when I get undyed natural white yarn, I'm going to do some natural dyeing. And somebody sent me this book that she had and she wasn't using anymore. And it's a really good book. It's very interesting. It's like one of those books that, of course, it's a resource book, but it's also a book that you can sit down and actually read. Do you know what I mean? Like, some books are just resource books. You just look up what you need. And then others are, you know, just conversational books. That doesn't even make sense, does it? What I'm trying to say is this book is interesting. There's stuff in here to actually just sit down and read while you're drinking a cup of coffee, and then it's also a wonderful resource book. So I was very thankful for this. So now I have a couple good books to use when it comes to natural dyeing. So that was really very nice of her, and I'm thankful for that. So the last thing that I want to talk about is a new to me shop that I absolutely, positively love and was so excited to share with you. So the shop name is Yellow Blue Bag. It's on Etsy, and Olya, who I think she's in South Dakota, I think that's where her and her family live. She is not on Instagram, so I cannot link you to her Instagram account, but I can link you to her Ravelry group and her Etsy shop, which I will do. She contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to use some of her items and review them and then share with you guys. And I said, well, of course I would. She told me to go to her shop and pick something, and I was like, really? It just felt really weird to do that. So I got on her shop and I was like, I cannot pick. I can't pick. I said, so these are the kind of things that I like, and I gave her examples. And then she ended up sending me an amazingly generous package. I honestly just was I just felt, I had so much gratitude. I was like, oh my gosh, I almost felt bad accepting it. So thank you, because it really meant a lot. This bag, oh my goodness. Look at this bag. There's her little label. Let me zoom so you can see. Oh, of course. No, it's not working, guys. Yellow Blue Bag. Okay. This is a huge bag. It is where I'm keeping my no-frill sweater. This thing has the potential to hold a lot of yarn. And it's like her sweater bag. And she has other ones on her shop. I looked before I started podcasting. So it's got this really nice leather handle. It's drawstring, okay, which is nice. And then it's got a print inside. Like I said, it holds so much. There's so much room in there. And this fabric was a vintage fabric that she had found and sewn a one-of-a-kind bag out of. Again, isn't it very fall themed? So she sent me this. I highly, highly, highly recommend this bag. It's wonderful. If you need a sweater-sized bag, this bag is perfect, and her prices are incredibly reasonable. And there's more. Not just that she sent me, but there's more. There's something for you guys too, so hang in there. Okay, then she also, not only does she make bags, and she doesn't just make these kind of bags, she makes diaper bags, which are, if I would have a baby right now, which is impossible for me, but if I would totally buy one of her diaper bags because they are unique and they are gorgeous. But then she also sent me this naturally dyed sock yarn, and this was dyed with avocados. This is called Blossom. That's the color of it. And it's a merino wool nylon blend. So I haven't gotten a chance to knit with this yet because she sent me this stuff. I think I got it right before we left for Maine. I put my no frills. I took this with all my yarn for my no frills and I took it with me. But I have not, of course, used the yarn yet. But it's very beautiful. It's that nice pale ballerina pink that you can get with avocados if you make the pH just right. Okay, then she sent me something else, which, can you see the dog marks, the tooth marks? So my lab mix, she is 6 years old. No, she's almost 7. She'll be 7 next month. But she has separation anxiety. And I had left, we had to run somewhere the day that we were leaving for Maine. I left this little box on our coffee table. And she got it. And I got home and saw it laying on the floor. And I was like, oh my goodness. But thankfully she did not get a hold of what was inside. Because look at this. She also makes these little stitch marker and progress keeper bracelets. So this goes right on. And I have very small wrists. So I have a hard time finding bracelets that fit me. But, you know, she told me you can just bend the metal to make it tighter and make it fit you. So it's customizable as far as size goes. And then we've got this little piece of like a seaweed. And then all these shell stitch markers. She also has ones with more progress keepers than stitch markers. But I love these shell stitch markers because they are so nice and light. I don't like heavy stitch markers, heavy progress keepers, just because they pull down on my knitting. So these are so nice. And there's a lot of them on there. And all you have to do to get them off is you just screw off the ball, and then it comes right off to use. So she also has necklaces. If you don't like bracelets, there's necklaces. Let's see how many. Let's see, 2, 4, 5. There's 10 total on here. So 9 stitch markers and 1 progress keeper. No, I'm sorry. 10 stitch markers and 1 progress keeper. So 11 in total. So I was so very impressed. I had never even heard of her before, mostly probably because she's not on Instagram. Because a lot of people that I follow in the fiber world are on Instagram, and that's how I find out about them. So I am so glad that she contacted me. Now, here is what I am so excited about, guys. And I hope you've listened this far. If you're hearing this, you have listened this far. Because she's so sweet. She is so sweet. So listen what she has for you guys. This is from her little card that she sent me. She said, I would also like to offer a coupon code for all the podcast viewers for 25% off anything in my shop using code LOVELYYARN. You guys, 25% off. That is a quarter off. Quarter off of your total purchase. So I am going to link all of her stuff below. I will also put the code, the discount code name down below by her shop. And you guys go check out her shop. I actually took a couple screenshots just to give you an example. I mean, I showed you what she sent me, but let me show you what else. Just give you a couple examples. Okay, so let me show you some examples of what she has. So this is a sweater size project bag, like the one that I have. I believe it's that same size. Here is some beautiful purple yarn. A really pretty, she's got a lot of these stitch marker necklaces and bracelets and stuff, all different kinds to choose from. Some more yarn. It's a really nice dark purple, and I think all of her yarn is naturally dyed. I respect her opinion to not be on Instagram because I know it can be a real like time drainer, and it's another platform that you have to set boundaries with and all that, but I really wish she was, because I feel like her feed would be really gorgeous just looking at her shop and what she makes and what she has to offer. So again, go to her shop using the link below. Use a lovely yarn for 25% off. She did not tell me, like, she didn't give me a deadline for that, so I'm not really sure how she has that set up. I am going to send her a message on Ravelry and let her know that I did podcast, because like I said, she sent me this the end of August, so it's been a long time. But I was really excited to share that. I feel like so grateful. I've got Judy's yarn and stitch marker, River's sock set that she sent to give away, and then Ulia's shop. The 25% off is, like, to me, I feel like that's unheard of as a discount in a Etsy shop. It's just so, it just feels so generous. I'm like, wow. So yeah, it's just really, really amazing. And guys, that is it for today. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to click the like button and subscribe if you don't already. And I feel kind of weird asking you to do that, but you know, we all know how algorithms work with social media and all that. So when you subscribe or push like, it does just kind of push my video out there a little bit. And not that numbers are like all important, but I do like, you know, I'd like for this video to be out there for people to watch. So that was really, truly awkward. But thank you guys for watching and spending time with me. I hope you're having an awesome fall/spring, you know, depending on where you are in the world. And again, just comment below with where you are in the world and what you enjoy about fall, or what a favorite activity is in the fall. And we will see you next time. Thank you.